Well, thank you, Youth Advisory Council, for inviting me and Kim to talk to you a little bit today. I'm hoping that it's going to be a little bit more conversational. I do, as Preston mentioned, I do a lot of presentations. I was hoping to make this a little bit more driven by your interests, because Preston told me that you guys are interested in electricity and sustainability. So with that, I'm going to try to share my screen. Yes. So I have three, they're not really questions, but three points that I'd like you to be thinking about. And I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. I'll introduce Kim. But while I'm doing that, I'd like you to be thinking about these points. And then real quick, we can go through and each of you can give me just one answer to one of these questions, or it's not a question again, but one of these items. So think about that while I'm talking. I am Alex Shelley, and I am the communications executive for San Miguel Power. The sign that you see here was made by me and my son, and we hand painted it with markers and stuff because I'm working from home during COVID. So we just tried to have fun with it. That's our logo. San Miguel Power is, of course, the electric company serving your school and the community of Ridgway and beyond. My background is, I may as well just let you guys know, I was for 5 years an English teacher. So that actually did happen. After that, I got into graphic design and then eventually into communications at DMEA in Montrose, and then later SMPA here in Ridgway. So that's kind of a quick version for me. Kim is my speaking partner today. Kim Wheels is the energy programs coordinator at Eco Action Partners. And so Kim, do you have a little blurb you want to say?
Sure, I'll chime in. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
Super excited. Thank you all for having us here. So Eco Action Partners is the regional sustainability organization. We're based in Telluride, but we've been serving all of SMPA territory, which includes Ridgway, pretty much since inception in 2007. And I have a mechanical engineering background with a passion for energy efficiency and renewable energy. I came to Colorado in 2006 and gained some experience and knowledge in those areas. And then when our first director of Eco Action Partners got hired, I called her up within about 2 days and said, hey, can I come help you yet? And so I've been working with Eco Action Partners ever since. Working to engage the community in understanding what our greenhouse gas emissions are. Hopefully you've all heard of a carbon footprint and greenhouse gas emissions, but we can talk more about that. And understanding what everyone, including each of you, can do to reduce our overall carbon footprint of our region. I'm a total data geek. I collect information from SMPA and our natural gas provider and a lot of other sources of our emissions, and I calculate those and put them into charts and I analyze them and then report on them to the governments and other community groups every year. So you'll get to see a few of those slides and ask questions and learn about those. I think that's about it for me.
Cool. So I want to hear from you guys. I'll just kind of go in the order that I wrote your names down. I'm just getting to know you now. And you tell me what question or what point you're going to say, and then what you have to say about that. So Emily. She's muted. Emily, you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I wanted to ask, why do people use rubber boots when they have to be in like electric environments so that they aren't electrocuted?
Right.
Why isn't it conductive?
Good. Why isn't it conductive? I know that it isn't conductive. As for why, that may be a little bit above my science expertise. But I will comment that our linemen, the line crews who operate, have to be exceedingly careful in the gear that they use, and that includes the rubber gloves that they use when they're operating on that gear. They will do an inspection for the tiniest of pinholes, because that's enough of an in where a person could get electrocuted. So that rubber is truly a life-saving material. That didn't answer your question, I know, but it's.
No, it's okay. That's fine. Thank you. Yes, very insightful.
Anna.
I want to know more about how like currents work and the math between them, because we did a little bit of that stuff in physics last year, but like how like voltage like gets split up and how it just runs and makes things work.
Absolutely.
I guess it's not a very direct question.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's something you want to know more about. Current and voltage, which measures electrical potential. And then of course, those are also related to power, what we call wattage, electric power. And then the other one that people tend to forget is ohms, or electrical resistance. And you're right, all four of those variables are related to each other. And so that's very cool. It's cool that you're interested in that. Christian.
I would like to know how I could personally reduce my own carbon footprint on like an individual level.
Very cool. And that's definitely something I know that Kim has a lot of expertise in, for at the individual level, but also at when we get together and we think of ourselves as a community, a business, or a government, a local government, or even larger. So Kim and I will address that to a little bit later. Nerea, I'm going to try and say that. Did I get that right? And she may be muted.
Yeah, I'm muted, my bad. You did say that right.
All right, okay, good.
I guess I'm just gonna address like the first question, like what do we know about it? And I mean, we use electricity a lot on our day-to-day lives, especially now with technology. We use that with like televisions and computers, but we also use it for like our homes and like our heating and cooling systems and all that stuff. So yeah, yeah.
Just the importance of electricity for
Yeah.
our lifestyles.
Yeah, we just use it a lot, and I think it's very important.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Great. And then Emma.
I think something that I would want to, well, I guess my question kind of has to go with 1 and 2. I want to know how much of the electricity that we're using in Ridgway right now is from like solar. And then I want to know why isn't it, I guess, all of the electricity that we use?
Excellent question. It's actually a good lead in to one of the things that I wanted to talk about, which was to get an idea of where we stand. I'm sure you've all heard information and opinions about renewable energy versus energy from fossil fuels. We live in an environment that's hyper aware, really, of the impact that the use of electricity over the last 100 years or so has had on our environment. And so that's certainly one of the things that steers that conversation. And so Emma, your question, I think, is very timely. And so I went ahead and just did a little digging around, and as part of my job, I do this kind of on a regular basis. And I said, all right, if we're, I've got a lamp over here, and if I'm looking at the electricity that's being used by that lamp, and I could draw a little pie chart, how much of that electricity is coming from, solar power? How much is coming from water power, hydroelectric, versus how much is coming from coal? And burning coal is a very relatively cheap method of has been for many decades the cheapest way to generate electricity, and it's extremely reliable. So versus the renewables. So when we take that kind of snapshot, we have to sort of break our power up because it comes from multiple different sources. So I'll do my best to give you just sort of an overview of where we stand now. And you guys can look at a light bulb somewhere as you're thinking about this, or even look at your computer screen, because the energy, you know, powering our conversation right now is coming from this mix. So right now, the power you're using is coming from San Miguel. It's distributed to you via San Miguel Power Association, the company I work for, the cooperative that I work for. 5% of that energy we are generating. SMPA, well, I say we, but through our partnerships locally, 5% of the energy that you're using is coming from generation facilities that are near you. And I mean close. I'm talking about Ridgway. There's a hydroelectric facility in Ridgway Hydro. It's one of the oldest ones in the world. There's a hydroelectric in Telluride at Pandora. There's another one at Bridal Veil. It's not operating right now, but there is another one up there. And when it operates, we purchase that power. There's another one at Coal Creek between Ridgway and Ridgway. So these are facilities that are turning turbines with water that you see melting from the mountains. This is in our area. This is actual electricity that's contributing. We also have 3 solar arrays. We have one out in Paradox. We have another one in Norwood, and then one that just came online in Telluride. And again, we don't own all these facilities, but we purchase the power.
Do you also purchase individuals' excess power? Like if we have solar panels, then would you guys buy the extra of that and redistribute it?
Great question. In a way, yes, and in a way, no. So essentially, if you have solar power panels on your house, that system should have been designed to power your house. And of course, you know, your house has differing needs at different times. And the panels generate different amounts at different times. So it very rarely will it ever exactly cancel out. Most of the time, you're either not generating quite enough and you need to draw energy from the grid, or you're generating more than you need, and that'll actually spin your meter backwards and you're putting energy onto the local grid. And we allow that that interaction, which is called net metering. And so that is a way that people can pay for a good chunk of their own power draw with panels. And so if you live in a house like that, in a way, when you spin that meter backwards, when your panels are generating more than you need, that energy does go out on the grid. And so that in that sense, we would be purchasing power, but in the legal sense, it's different. It's not the same as the power we collect from, for instance, Ridgway Hydro.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, great question. So, but what we're just talking about here is just 5% of the total energy draw. So look at that light bulb, it's just a little sliver. The rest of it, the 95%, that is power that we distribute from a wholesaler. And our wholesale power provider is Tri-State Generation and Transmission, and they're based out of Westminster. So what portion of Tri-State's energy is coming from these renewable sources? And essentially right now, if we were to take a snapshot, I could say it's about a third. So about a third of that 95% is coming from solar, wind, and hydro.
Alex, would you like me to show that chart that shows that?
This is a perfect time for that. So Kim has an awesome chart. Oh, I better stop sharing and then give her the chance. Do you have the ability, Preston? Does she have the ability to share screen?
I hope so.
Yep.
There we go.
Great.
All right. There we go. There we go. Can everybody see that?
Looks good.
Great. So this chart I developed a few years ago with the help of SMPA staff that collected the information from Tri-State. And so you'll see that in 2010, only about 13% of our electricity from Tri-State came from renewable energy. But then by 2016, that amount was almost 30%, and it's increased since then. And it's a mixture of local, this is the 5% local that Alex was talking about, that's part of SMPA's generation. And then we also have other sources of solar, wind, and hydro that are on the grid with Tri-State that our electricity comes from. Alex, do you want to say more about that? Anything? Any questions?
I think that, you know, a graph is worth 1,000 words. When you see it, you can kind of see the trend over time. And this graph ends in 2016. But it kind of speaks to the point that we are living in a major transition of the industry. For the longest time, electricity was, you know, keeping your pizza hot, keeping your, I'll say, soda cold, and that was it. It was pretty simple. When I flick the light, I want flick the switch, I want the lights to come on. But because we are living in this environment where we're realizing that we need to make changes, the industry is very much in flux. And so you can see that change just locally in Kim's graph here. On a larger scale, I can show.
Is this trend still being followed? Like if you were to add in all the other years?
And I would say, Kim, I'm gonna share screen.
Okay. Well,
If you want here.
stop sharing.
Okay.
Yes, I'm working on trying to get the rest of the data from SMPA to update that chart for the next few years.
Excellent. So on this page, this is from one of the many pages from Tri-State, from our wholesale power provider. And you can see that it kind of gives some metrics of where Tri-State is, that 95% of our power in terms of this transition. And Tri-State implemented what they call a responsible energy plan. And that all sounds, you know, good, but it's really an action plan. And what they show here is some of the benchmarks of this transition. So you can see this first one here. By 2024, they have a goal that's just 3 years from now. We have a goal to be 50% of the electricity our members use will come from clean energy. And I told you today it's at about a third. So to move from a third to half in just 3 years is that represents a massive change. You can also see Tri-State has goals to reduce emissions. One of the big issues with regard to climate change, of course, is CO2, which is emitted when a fossil fuel like coal is burned. That goes into the atmosphere and contributes to a lot of the issues that we've seen with regard to climate change. And so reducing emissions has become a major goal of Tri-State, as well as the state of Colorado, state of New Mexico, and the other states that Tri-State serves. So they also have other things, increased member flexibility. What that means to us is we've got those, I mentioned, 3 solar arrays that are on our system. With this increased member flexibility, Tri-State gives us the ability to look into even expanding more. And we're looking at the possibility of starting community solar arrays, and there's just a number of things that we can potentially put on the grid. So we can continue to add more, that like we have been. So you can kind of see from that that it's very much an industry that's changing. And so that's kind of, I think, an answer to your question, Emma. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
This is
Hey,
kind of
Alex, I had a question, and I don't want to get too nitty gritty, but back on that chart that you were showing between, I think it was like between 2011 and 2016. I'd never seen that before. That's pretty interesting. The amount of energy acquired from Tri-State for, I guess it was wind energy. I mean, there was a pretty steady increase between those years up to 2016. I don't remember who was asking. Anna was curious about that trend coming into 2020. I guess my question is, of all those renewable energy sources, you know, hydro, solar, wind, can you or Kim talk to those costs? Because last time I checked, I feel like the costs are always, you know, changing around. But last time I checked, wind was probably the most expensive. So I'm wondering how that, you know, correlates with that steady increase in acquiring wind produced energy, with it being the most expensive. Anyway, does that make sense?
I think, yeah, that's a question I would probably have to get back with you on to dig a little deeper into the costs of, you're talking about the costs of installation and maintenance of those.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, exactly. Just the overall cost of, you know, generating that type of energy.
Yeah, I think what the challenge we all face, I'll just speak at a very high level. The challenge we all face is the transition. Once these facilities, once these facilities are built, once they're operating and they're cranking kilowatt hours onto the grid, man, they just work. They're intermittent, you know, they're not steady the way that a coal-fired plant produces, but when they work, they work. And so, and the economy of, you know, this power has been changing, and the price has been falling steadily. And that's the main driver behind why we see this huge transition in tri-state and really, you know, across the country. But Kim, do you have anything else you could add to that?
I think the only additional thing is that since I started working here and in the renewable energy industry, the cost of solar in particular, solar electricity has come down significantly. It used to be, I think, close to a 20-year payback for a system that you might install on your house. And I think now it's around 5 years. So just the cost for all of them, I believe, has come down, but that one in particular over the past 10 years has been significant. So that's driving a lot of change in the industry.
Certainly. And then the other side of that, of course, price is one consideration. Looking at the issue from another prism would be, what about the CO2 emissions? And Kim, I know you have another graph you can share with us to talk about what a difference this is making.
I do. Let's see. You all see this one?
There it is.
Okay. So this chart shows the emissions associated with that electricity that we use. And so the more renewable energy that is part of our mixture of electricity, the lower our emissions are associated with each unit of electricity that we use. So when you buy a light bulb from the store, for instance, you're probably used to seeing that it is like a 100-watt bulb or a 40-watt bulb, or if you're buying LEDs, it's going to be the equivalent of a 100-watt bulb. And so as we use that power, the more renewable energy we have, the less emissions are associated with turning on that light bulb. And so you'll see that during the past few years, these numbers are significantly lower than they were when we first started tracking in 2010. And that's associated with more solar, more wind, more hydro being on the grid. Is that where you wanted me to go with that?
Yeah, thank you, Kim.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
so what this all leads to, if you think about it, is if we can, what can we do as consumers of electricity to help this trend continue? Here you can clearly see in our communities that we're making a difference, and these renewable facilities are, they're giving us the electricity that we need to maintain our lifestyle, and they're not emitting the same amounts of CO2. So this is a very real change that you can see. But still, it brings us back to what can we do? And Kim, I'll go ahead and share screen on mine. So another, I thought I had it on there. There it is. Wanted to at least let you all know about a program that we have at San Miguel Power that allows individual consumers, and by that we mean your parents, your own household, all the way up to city governments, county governments, can elect through our program, which is called Totally Green. And here's where I'll break out my surfer voice, totally. This is our program, Totally Green. And it is aptly named. You can go to 100% renewable electricity through this program. And it's pretty easy to sign up. In fact, I'm proud to announce that the town of Ridgway is one of our Totally Green members. So every facility, everything that the town does is powered by 100% renewable energy. And we're able to do that through a mechanism that we call REX. And I won't go into the grand details of that, but essentially we have a big economy in the United States, and we avail ourselves of renewable electricity that is being produced not only locally, not only in the state of Colorado, but across the whole country. And we're able to purchase and buy and sell that energy and then provide it to our members who have made this decision. We want to go totally green. And so that's what enables us to be able to do it. And one of the great success stories, you guys may not know this, but who skis? Okay. So next time you go to Telluride and you take the gondola up to Mountain Village, that gondola is 100%, it's totally green. So that's just something to think about as you're riding up and you're looking at that beautiful mountainside. That facility has been totally green before we even had the name Totally Green, the program. They purchased another product that we call Green Blocks. And the idea there is it's actually a bit of a double whammy, because not only is the energy powering that machine, that majestic machine, totally out of green energy, but imagine how many cars are not driving between Telluride and Mountain Village. Imagine how many emissions out of tailpipes are not being emitted because of that machine. So that's what that right there leads me to another very important concept that I'd like to mention before we close, and before we take any additional questions you might have. And that concept is what we call beneficial electrification. So way back 75 years ago, 80 years ago, when our communities were first firing up, building poles and wires and electrifying their households, they called that electrification. It was called rural electrification. And it was all about improving our lives with electricity. Well, now we stand with the opportunity to improve our lives again with electricity, not by bringing it into our homes any more than it already is, but by using electricity that is increasingly generated with renewable resources. As we see this trend that Kim showed on her chart there, electricity is becoming, over time, a greener and cleaner source of electricity. So the idea, came to our heads would say beneficial electrification. Back when we did electrification, that improved lives. Now beneficial electrification means you take something that you formerly used a fossil fuel to power, and now you power it with electricity, which is becoming increasingly clean and green. So the biggest example that we typically think of is the automobile. You guys have heard of electric vehicles. Well, that is a prime example of being able to take something that was powered with a fossil fuel, with gasoline, and now power it, charge it up. A lot of times at night, people who own these will have a charger in their garage, and they will use what we call off-peak power, and they will charge that car up, and then they wake up every day and their car is fully charged. It's like waking up with a full tank of gas every day. And
Isn't that, sorry, to interrupt.
Go ahead.
But isn't that still kind of tied to the fossil fuels, because we get that electricity from burning like coal and such at those big power plants?
Yes.
So it's still not as good for the environment? I don't know.
That it is, you're right. At this point, it is tied to coal. But as we've seen over time, it's going to be less and less. So if Tri-State meets their goal of being 50% by 2030, or 2024, then half of that power will not be coal. If Tri-State makes their goal of being 70% renewables by 2030, then only 30% of that will be fossil fuels. So the idea is, because the electric industry is changing, it's, we're taking a snapshot of it now, that's true, but look at where it's going. That's why we're starting to push this idea of using electricity to power your car rather than fossil fuel, because when you fill a gas tank, you're 100% fossil fuels. So, it's getting there little by little.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
If you remember that chart that I showed that showed the emissions factor and that decreasing, and the last 3 blue charts, it's now beneficial or creates a reduction in our greenhouse gas emissions to use electricity versus natural gas. And so that it's now actually beneficial from a carbon footprint standpoint to use electricity, whereas it wasn't just a couple of years ago. So the more renewables that come on the grid, the more and more beneficial that will be.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a very recent and new and exciting change in the industry, especially for our region with our particular electricity mix.
And I can imagine, you guys can tell me, I imagine it's an exciting time to be a teenager, because how long is it going to be until you guys are purchasing your first vehicle? And you're actually going to be in not too much time, you'll be able to exercise your own power of purchase. And you can do it in smaller doses too. It doesn't have to be a vehicle. Think about just lawn tools, just a weed whacker. A lot of those are, you have a choice. You can get an electric one or you can get a gas powered one. And so using the power of your ability to make money and spend money is a way that you individually can help move the needle. So I know we only had a half hour. I think we're probably past that now, but I do want to ask, does anyone else have any questions or anything that you want to mention?
Oh, and thank you for giving the little car, the little electric car to the school. We really appreciate that.
Oh, thanks for mentioning that.
Yes.
That way we
get
can
those
test out our new
chargers.
chargers.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, because the EnviroCycle, like Emma and I,
Mhm.
were and Anna, we're in the EnviroCycle club, and you probably know about it. Like, we're
That's fantastic.
building the electrical chargers for our school.
Yeah, and did you know that it was students actually who did the conversion for that bug? It was a 1970, 74 or 79, one of those two. Volkswagen Bug, and students from Ridgway and Ouray High School were the ones who actually did the conversion and turned that into an electric vehicle.
Oh, that's
It's
cool.
great.
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, yeah. So that thing has been a student project from the very start.
That's
Nice.
awesome. Yeah. It looks fun to drive.
It is fun. So,
Alex, can I share my screen just briefly again?
sure.
While you're doing that, I'll share that the town of Ridgway has also opted to be totally green. So all of the town of Ridgway's official electricity utility uses are being offset through the Totally Green program.
Awesome.
And we're happy to be able to do it.
Wonderful participation.
Yay, town of Ridgway. It's exciting. So one activity that I do across the region, including Ridgway, is I facilitate a group called the Snuffles Energy Board, which includes government officials and staff members from all the different governments across the region, as well as then SMPA representatives and community representatives. And we look annually at our greenhouse gas emissions, and the pie chart breaks down like this as far as where our carbon footprint is coming from. And about 50% has always been from buildings, which is electricity and natural gas use. And then we have some from transportation and some from other consumption, food, waste, etc. And we are working on updating our action plan, the climate action plan for the region, in order to reduce this pie chart. We've had one since 2010, and we've been making progress. And I track that data. Where can I go? I track that data annually and look at it. This is our total carbon footprint since 2010. And it changes across the years. So there's multiple things that cause that change. But I also, because that energy use from buildings is 50% or more, I pull that out and look at just the emissions from energy from buildings. So this is electricity and natural gas here together. So our action plan focuses on the entire sector and the entire picture of our carbon footprint. But we have a lot of priorities associated with electricity and natural gas use. And in particular, this time with our update, we're going to be including beneficial electrification to cover a lot of this, including then transportation and the vehicles. So we will be looking for input from the community. These are some of the sectors that will be included. And when we finish the process of the Snuffles Energy Board here in the next couple months, we will be expanding that outreach to get input from the community. And we would love to have input from all of you as the Youth Council in Ridgway and get your ideas as to what should be included to help reduce our emissions across the region further. Anybody have any questions on that process? There was kind of a lot of information there in a short time, but.
Well, thank you guys for having us. And if you do have any questions, my email is, it's pretty simple. It's just my name at SMPA, alex@smpa.com. Feel free to shoot me an email. Give any questions to Preston or Emma as the new mayor. She can certainly reach out to me, and I would be happy to provide any resources that you need, any sources of information. And I look forward to working with you guys to do a ribbon cutting when we hand over that lightning bug. So looking forward to that.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Thanks, Kim. Really appreciate your time today. And this group is still in the infancy stages, I'll say, but I think down the line as this group becomes a little more acclimated to and pinpoints projects and initiatives to pursue, we may reach out to you in the future if looking for any guidance or more information on specific topics. But at the end of the day, thank you for taking the time today.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
If you want any other information on other programs and projects and focuses of Equal Action Partners, I'd be happy to join you again. We can cover any other interests.
Awesome. Thanks, Kim.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Take care.
All right. All right, Mayor Burwanger, what's next up on the agenda?
Not gonna lie, I did not have the thing pulled up.
Okay, I got you.
Thank you, Emma.
Yeah. For item 4, we will be discussing our advisory council activities and projects.
Great. So I'll kind of lead this. There's a memo in the packet. It's a brief description of ideas on projects and initiatives that you all could potentially undertake. It's simply a guide and trying to get the wheels turning a little bit. We talked about this at the last meeting a little bit, and I recall there being some interest in some sort of regular, semi-regular publication by way of I remember the word newsletter being thrown out, like a youth advisory council newsletter, which I think is a great idea that that you all could with a little bit of staff help develop on a however periodic basis, and then put it out to your students within the school district, put it out in the local paper. We could always explore putting it out in the Plain Dealer if Aaron and Mike over at the Plain Dealer were willing to do that. But again, hopefully you had a few minutes to kind of read through this bulleted list of ideas. And the whole point of this item is to just discuss any interest you all have, specific interest you all have in pursuing any of these or others that aren't accounted for on the memo.
Sorry, Emma, do you want to go first? Do you have any
No, you
ideas?
can go first, Emma. It's cool.
So I'm actually taking a social media class right now, which I thought would be kind of boring, but it actually has some really good ideas for like how to use like social media, but in like a pretty professional and educational way. So for that newsletter, there's a thing that's called Blogger, and it basically just attaches to your Google account. And it's basically just like a blog. It's super easy to post. I did a post on one today. So I think for that newsletter, we could either use that, or I know Facebook is kind of a little bit outdated, but they do have really cool like features for like pages, and you can make it look super professional. And then like we could all have access to it and post like, I don't know if we want to post a link to our minutes or like summaries, and even just post about what we talked about. So those are my ideas for that newsletter. And then we could have Jen send out the link either to the Facebook page or the Blogger page. The only thing about the bloggers, I don't know if we can all access it. I don't know like what that looks like.
I would like to think that Google would allow have some sort of permission settings that would afford everybody the ability to go in and manipulate or edit. John, does that sound about right? Or am I just making that up?
I use Blogger, have for years. And I was going to weigh in when appropriate, just to say, first off, I think we need to all be getting away from Facebook. I think Facebook is a real problem in the world, and we shouldn't be supporting it. So I would argue, from everything I've read, most young people don't use it anyway. They focus on Instagram and TikTok and things like that. So I would seriously advocate for the Google Blogger blog, and you could either all share a login, or I think there was, I'll look into it. I'll figure out how you can allow others to post to it. But I think that, especially since you're learning how to do it, makes good sense.
Yeah, I just looked up and it said you could create multiple users. So yeah, we could definitely all do that. Or you know,
you could also make an Instagram page for the advisory council.
But I feel like that would be maybe something that we would work on once we have like, I mean, I guess we're talking about it right now. But I feel like setting up this blog or something like that, talking about what we talked about in the meeting, because like in Instagram, people aren't going to want to read like even just like a paragraph about what we did. You know what I mean? Unless you guys feel like they would.
I mean, we could always bullet point it, you know.
That is true. And Instagram might be cool. Do you guys think that people would follow that? The only thing about that is that I don't know if parents or like the community would be in on that as much as a blogger. So I don't know how you guys feel about
Yeah,
that.
I kind of think that a blog or something else would be better, just because like Instagram, you have to have a picture with everything. We couldn't do text posts. It just seems a little less like professional, a little more like a casual thing.
Yeah.
I agree. I think, and Instagram, of course, being owned by Facebook, I think is kind of part of the big brother problem anyway. Even though I've been off Facebook for more than a year now and totally happy about that. And I'm about to leave Instagram too for some of the same reasons. I think there's a reason to have an Instagram page for the group eventually, just to kind of post about activities and things, specific things that the group might be doing as a way to get the word out. But the blog is definitely going to be more professional. It's going to be more appropriate for a place that you can post it, whether you do it kind of boringly as in the form of minutes, or whether someone actually writes a more of kind of a report of what's going on. I just think the blog is the more best way to put it, more professional way to do it, I think.
Okay, let's do the blog then. Yeah.
Sweet. And I can get that set up, and we can even discuss about what we, kind of do like a post even just about today, about what we talked about. And then I'm just reading through this list. I think that we should, I don't know how you guys feel, if you want to pick like one of these things, because I know like organized community service projects have a local careers day, and then like an education or advocacy campaign. I think those were kind of the overarching themes of these ideas. Would you guys want to just pick one right now, that we would kind of like focus on, or we could send out like a survey to see which one the youth would be interested in the most?
Well, it could go either way because we're kind of representing lots of, the school and stuff. But also we aren't the most representative group. So I don't know. Maybe we could vote on it.
I'm okay either way also. I think they're both solid ideas. I think if we're going for efficiency though, we could just pick, because we're already into February. We haven't got much done, so it might just be easier for us to pick.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like so let's see. So with a careers and local government day, the thing about that one is that we can't have what is it, like, I guess outsiders in our building. So it'd have to be a Zoom call. So we kind of have to figure out, okay, what classes are going to Zoom into which person at what time. It would definitely be some planning. I mean, all of them are going to be planning, so I guess it's kind of
we also have to think
relevant.
about like what other groups in town do these things. Well, NHS does the community service stuff, but we can help with that as well. And I know that Voyager does a lot of like the advocacy programs. So I don't know if we should chip in on that one very much, because there's a lot of other problems to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, we basically are NHS. This group right here, we're almost all in it. So I think with that advocacy one, the one that we would want to focus on, I think that we've all kind of made that conclusion that climate is a really big thing. I thought the presentation just now, like, I didn't even know that a third of our power is coming from renewable resource. And I think that's really important to people, for people to know that, because I feel like nobody knows that. We all think when we turn on our light that it's just like straight coal. So I feel like maybe we could do, I just don't know what we would do for that, if that makes sense. Like if we would all like, because with the school we can have cohorts together. So would we just like kind of make a presentation, present it to the, 2 high school cohorts and then middle school? And then would we want to have a guest speaker? What information do we want to put on there?
I mean, you could have it so that you connect with the teachers and then everyone can just stay in their own classroom, but everyone zooms in, all the classes zoom into one room, one Zoom room, and then somebody presents from there, just so that everyone's
That is true.
separate.
So, yeah, does anybody have any, so I guess we have that idea, and then the careers in local government. I don't know if Preston is kind of wanting us to choose one that we want to focus on today. I don't know.
Yeah,
quite what-
great. Yep. Love the conversation, by the way. This is fantastic. The career, I wouldn't get so, I wouldn't be married to the careers in local government piece. It was simply an idea. You could tailor it to be careers in government day, and just, thinking out loud, we could invite folks that represent a ton of different fields, be it, fields in local government, state government, even at the federal level too, to attend kind of an overarching Zoom meeting where everyone is afforded some time to present over the course of an hour. Or I think, Emily, you were talking about how Zoom does the breakout rooms or sessions or something. Yeah, folks who log in to participate could choose whatever speaker, whatever government representative they wanted to listen to. Anyway, I'm rambling now, but I wouldn't really just hone in on careers in local government. I love where the conversation's going, and in the end, you don't have to pick 3 or 4 things to pursue today. We can continue this conversation next month. I think the Google Blogger idea is absolutely fantastic. And Emma, I heard you say that you'll spearhead getting that created. I'm happy to help however you all see fit. But I think, sharing meeting summaries, and Emma, you were just highlighting some of the information you just heard from Alex and Kim, some of the really interesting information. I think that would be perfect to share in this blogger and then distribute that to your peers or other groups at the school who you think may be interested too. So that, in my eye, is the purpose of having that newsletter, blogger, whatever you want to call it. So, I had a lot of different thoughts there. All I'm trying to say is, I think we have a good course for you all with this blogger. We can continue these conversations later if you all want to give it some more thought and kind of hone in on exactly what type of activities, be it a career day or what else were you all, we have community service projects you all could look to organize that are outside. There's a couple examples there. Again, all these are just examples. They're not the lay of the land.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I really think so. Then today, or just, until our next meeting, like within the next week, I'll get that blogger set up and put everybody on that, and we can make our first post and, kind of make it look pretty and stuff. And then we'll have Jen we'll set a deadline by Friday this week. And that way Jen can put it in the parent and staff and student email. So that way people kind of know what we've been talking about. And then I think that, with most of us being in NHS, I would like that if we, I'm thinking if we do like the presentation, like an advocacy campaign, and really focus on what's going on in Ridgway with that climate thing, basically like educating people. And then in theory, hopefully NHS can deal more with the drives and stuff like that, because we need to be doing that. So we just haven't really been on it. So
Yeah.
I would love if so I think if I really like the ideas, if anybody has any, obviously chime in if you have any.
And Emma, real
like
quick,
that
you're saying NHS, is that National Honor Society?
Mhm.
Yeah. And we
Yeah,
just
okay.
we actually have to do volunteer hours, which most of us have, or not most of us, some of us have been doing volunteer hours, but it's required this semester. So we are, is an NHS. Emma's the president of that. So we've been focusing on trying to get those drives and having people volunteer in the community and stuff. So I would love to do these things on this list, just because it's also 15 people in NHS. So there's a lot more people that would be able to help with that stuff. So I'd love if we would be able to focus on that campaign and stuff, and kind of bring these ideas also into that other society.
Okay. And then another question, Jen, is she just is she on the staff there at the school district? You said Jen,
Oh,
right?
yeah, she's the what do I don't
Administrator.
even know.
An office lady. That's not the right term, but
I don't know her job title, but basically she just like writes all the emails and she's at the front desk. So she kind of
Great,
deals with all
great.
that. So if we just email her something, she'll email it to the whole student body.
That's
And
great. Yeah, I was
parents.
just, that's the more for my information. So that's good to know. So Emma, I heard you say, and this seems a little ambitious, but you kind of set a deadline of Friday this week to have, and forgive me, because I've been in Blogger before, but is it still set up where you do like single posts, single blog type posts?
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much. And the reason why I put that deadline, I mean, I would love to like give us another week, you know, because it's kind of our first meeting that we've actually like really like honed down and got stuff. But we're technically on break next week. So there's going to be no emails sent out. So it would be like almost, it would be 3 weeks out if we wait another week that people would actually be able to read the email. And then by then we're almost to our next meeting. So I
Sure.
feel like it and also the posts really don't take that long, you know. We can start a Google Doc and just kind of like, you know, we can just like type stuff up and I'll edit it, and it doesn't have to be, you know, that long or anything, because we're just kind of introducing what the blogger is going to be about. So I think as long as we can get that done by Friday, it really, like my post, I only had to do 250 words and it took me like 10 minutes. So
That's great. That's great. It'd probably take me like 20, but that everyone's different, right? So that's fantastic. I think another thing to keep in mind for these posts with the meeting recordings being posted to YouTube, I would definitely include the links to these meetings if anybody had an interest in kind of watching, especially since Alex and Kim had a pretty good presentation today. So keep that in mind when you're putting the post together, and feel welcome to send what you have my way or John's way. I don't want to just volunteer John Clark, but we'd be happy to take a look, and if you'd like any feedback.
Yeah, for sure. That definitely sounds good. So yeah, so we got that blogger thing, and then NHS is going to focus on those community service projects just because we have more people, and I feel like it's easier. We're also like spread more across the grade levels, kind of. So it's like easier for us to do that rather than just 5 of us trying to plan things. I think really focusing on that advocacy campaign, and I don't know if we would want to do like a Zoom, have an in-person presentation, like what we would even want to include in that. But I feel like that would be, I think it's important because I learned so much just in these 30 minutes. So if all 5 of us are compiling all this information about things that kids actually care about, then I think that would be really beneficial and give, you know, our council a pretty good rep.
That's great. Last thing I'll say, I don't want to say too much. Emma, I'm hearing what you're saying about focusing on an advocacy campaign of some sort. Give it some more thought. I encourage you all to, if that's what you'd like to hone in on, give it some thought between now and March 8th. That's the next meeting. And at that point, we can have another conversation about this and see if we can hone in further on that and see if we can get something or some things set up. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can also, we'll talk about it, the 5 of us, we'll make a little Snapchat group or whatever and kind of talk about what we want to kind of accomplish with that campaign. And also, just so everybody knows, I guess volleyball and soccer do start on the 8th. Raul just sent out an email. So I don't think our practice is until 5 as well, but we might have to make that time earlier, like maybe move it to 1. I don't know what, because Christian plays soccer, so I don't know what his practice times will be, because if it goes to 3:30, we might be in practice by then. So I don't know. We'll just have to keep you guys updated on that as well, because that is when sports start.
That's fine. We can adjust.
Yeah.
And I was
It
just,
should only be like an hour.
I was looking at one of my blogger pages, and cool thing is you can add additional pages. The main page is the blog itself that's posted at the time, but you can add a separate page that has as much or as little info on it as you want. You can have sort of an overview of the youth council. You can have links to other, like, it'd be fun to have a page that had an overview of the council, the structure that we use to set it up, and then links to the town's website and things like that. So I encourage
Yeah.
you to have fun with it and make it dynamic.
Yeah,
Awesome.
for sure. And it's, yeah, all you literally do is search Blogger up and you don't even have to make an account or anything. So yeah, I'll definitely write that down and get on that probably tonight or tomorrow just to get the page set up and get everybody access to it. And that way we can all kind of then see what we want to like write about and what we kind of want to like focus on, add any sub pages like John Clark said. So yeah.
And let me know how I can help if you have questions.
Awesome.
Okay, sweet. Will do.
Great. Well,
All right. Does anyone?
Emma, I'll check in with
Sorry,
you
go
later in the
ahead.
week to see how the blogger is going. And yeah, like John said, let us know how we can help with that. And we can also put that out, I guess the link to it out through our communication channels too here at the town. I think that's important as well.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah. For
Okay.
sure.
Excellent. Nice meeting, guys.
Yeah.
Emma, you had brought up the next meeting date. I heard you say it may work better if we started at 1:00, given that some sports are starting up. So that's Monday, March 8th. It's right now it's slated for 2:00. I noticed that Anna left, but should we go ahead and change it now? Or I think Emma, you had said you'd keep us posted as we go, but is it worth changing now?
I honestly think so because the only person that's in school till 12:45 is Christian. So I don't know if Christian, you want to chime in on this, but he lives in town, so it doesn't really take him that long to get home. So I feel like by 1:00 everybody would be able to Zoom, and that way like we don't have like, if we just decide it now, then everybody's gonna know and we don't have to send out an email that everybody might not see. So I feel like if we just change it 1 to 2:30, that way if practices do end up starting at 3:10 when school ends, then we already have it figured out and we're already on a good roll for that.
Does that work for everybody?
So
Yeah.
Does that work for you,
change
Christian?
it to 1.
Yeah, I could probably race home by 1.
Did you say
5 minutes?
did you say race home?
Yeah, it'd definitely be a bit close, but I could make it.
Well, we could do like 1:15 if you think that would work as well.
Okay, either
do
one's
that.
fine with me.
Okay. Why
Let's
don't
do 15.
Okay.
Christian isn't speaking up.
Hi, sorry. My Wi-Fi just crashed for a second.
Okay.
all right.
Yeah, we just decided that for our next meeting, which is on the 8th, just in case any of the sports like end up practicing right at 3:10 when school day ends, we just move the meeting to 1:15. That way we know everybody's going to be home and there's no chance of that getting like cut off or anything.
Okay, works for me.
Nice.
Sweet.
All right.
All right.
Mayor Burwinger, I have a request. I need a photo of everybody for our website, and I'm wondering if I should just have everyone turn their camera on and everyone cheese right now, and I can do a screenshot, or everyone can just send me an
I
individual
bet they want
photo.
to send their own photos.
You don't like the screenshot option, Mayor?
Because I think that I was thinking about that too when he said about those sub pages. I think if we had like the pictures of all of us, and then we could even just put like, senior and like, just like we could even write something about ourselves or what we're wanting to get out of this group. So I think that would. It's funny that you brought that up. So I was thinking the same
Love it.
thing.
That's a great idea.
So that means
So
you guys
then
are all
you
on the
want-
hook for sending photos.
Okay, and we should just send it to you, Preston, through the email.
Yeah, that works. That works great.
You just want one. You want one, right?
I mean, I'd be happy to look through a selection and pick the one that I think's best, but
Okay.
I
That
think
works.
right now let's just go ahead and send one.
Oh,
I think also if you guys can just send those my way as well, or I guess if we all have access to the thing, you don't need to. Yeah.
Yeah.
So get that figured out and you can just upload your own photo and write something nice about yourself. Little ego boost.
So Emma, you're talking about for the blogger, right?
Yeah.
Great. And I'm talking about for the town website. So we'll have a couple places where the photos will go.
Yeah.
Great.
And I like the idea Emma's suggesting that you guys each write a paragraph or bio about yourself and why you're doing this. I think that's really cool.
Sweet. All right. I think that's all that's on our agenda.
All right, that's Emma, you can bang the gavel and adjourn the meeting if you'd like.
Sweet. I'll take that. I adjourn this meeting.
Okay.
Great.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Preston, you'll send out a new calendar invite for the new time.
Yeah, I'll adjust that for, I think 1:15 on the 8th. So
I just was trying to change my March one and I can't edit it because it was a calendar invite. So
yeah, I'll do that right now.
cool. Thanks.
Thanks, John.
That was great. They did great today.
That was fantastic.
Okay. Have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Bye-bye.